administration and capitalism, like corporations. The reason why everyone's kind of keeping an open mind to the possibility that taking Greenland might in fact be worth the trade for NATO, if you can bracket off for a second the EU selling U.S. debt, NATO declaring war on the United States, like not directly, but even kind of indirectly through its own tariffs. And actually, at this point, we should be prepared for like economic sanctions against the United States by a whole host of the world, like sending our prices and inflation skyrocketing, et cetera. Anyway, whatever you think about the reverberations and consequences, the point that I'm making is the desire for Venezuelan oil makes sense in the context of strategic competition with China, and the desire for like Greenland security, this whole like Greenland obsession that's about the Arctic. This is logical from the realpolitik, like competitive global nation state framework, in which, and here's the thing that it's kind of scary. Even though these same administrations and these people deny global climate change, right? They deny it's happening. They're all proceeding on the basis of two very important things. One, they're going into Greenland because they think the Arctic's melting, which means implicitly they know global warming is real. It's like the ice caps are going to go away soon, like in not maybe Trump's lifetime, but in the second half of our lifetime, God willing that we survive another 40 years. The ice caps won't be there, which means the shipping lanes are open, the military lanes are open. There's going to be offshore, or I guess I don't know what the oil situation looks like, but there's a lot of shit up there. It's the last untapped place in the world, and that's even one reason why when I sent you and Andrew on our NT thread a couple weeks ago, where like an ice cap melted, and they went in there and they found like species they'd never seen before. They found like new kinds of octopus and shit, and they were like, we can't believe that fucking these kinds of species are even under these ice caps because they've never had access to them. There's like an avatar world up there that's like unblemished, that's not had contact with like us or like any other like warm air, warm water species for potentially hundreds or thousands of years. Like it's a whole world up there. Now, they're proceeding as if that world is melting, as if global climate change is real. And in their like profiteering mindset, they want that shit for the value they can extract from it. But they also want to prevent that value from being extracted by strategic competitors because the whole thing's militarized. And so this is the second part that I wanted to mention.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the people that proceed on the basis of occupying Greenland past Trump's like narcissistic fantasies and, you know, weird explanations, the people that are proceeding on that basis, though, as if behind Trump's madman insanity lies a strategic imperative, those people are also assuming something besides the fact that global warming is real. They're assuming that the future is war.
Right.
And so there's like a whole term that you can study called war capitalism, and that like warfare in the form of slavery, warfare in the form of colonialism, but also like modern warfare, the way we understand it from like a political economy perspective, like the fact that we spend $1 trillion on our own military. It's called warfare, you know, like
right.
There's books on this, right? You know, like the whole purpose of the military is to generate economic growth and GDP expansion, and everybody does that. And so like the whole like reason the state emerges, according to some of these theories, is that there had to be a finance class that arose to lend money to like the sovereigns and the sovereign states of like early modern Europe so they could wage war on each other. That there's this inherent linkage between finance capital and military expansions, and that's the kind of state capital nexus that has like produced the modern world and many genocides and etc. So when you look at it from like the kind of like the roots of war capitalism are premised on not only the idea that like finance capital and military expansion like go together, but they're continuously needing to grow. We know that capital needs growth. And so like the underlying logic of Trump's like brute capitalism as the brute capitalist himself, both morally and also in a weird way, symbolically, you know, he's the vehicle of U.S. empire, but also the vehicle of U.S. capital, is that they both need the resources, but they also need the war. And so that's the part that also scares me a little bit, is that they're like, in terms of the chess moves you just described, they're taking Greenland not just on the assumption that by doing so they can protect U.S. corporate and security interests in the Arctic. They're doing it to like have a readiness and a capacity to literally wage war in the future because they believe the war is inevitable. Like capitalism needs war. It needs it.
You know what this is making me think of is like Frederick Jackson Turner, Slotkin, the regeneration through violence, the frontier thesis, the idea that that maybe those ideas are not coming back, but are refreshed in some way. And there's a really weird irony of it, like of like the melting ice caps, like revealing new frontiers. Like in the same way that Elon Musk talks about space as like the place that we need to, in other words, you need a new physical landscape in order to like mine resources, but also to give you the like thrust of a mission. And you tie like masculinity in with that. Elon Musk's stupid fucking cowboy hat, Kristi Noem's stupid fucking cowboy hat. That like this stuff is sort of like it's gendered heavily. But it's also so deeply tied to our national identity. The idea that, we need new spaces to like constantly expand into. And what a crazy thing that we're sitting here talking about space and Greenland and like other places as like, it makes total sense, in other words, that the like, sort of like, the very basic mind of someone like Donald Trump, the very like basic "Make America Great Again" mind would go to that sort of prehistory in some way in order to grab meaning and power.
Yeah, and it also shows you that like when we think about like those the switch flipping in like decades, like or we think of it in terms of 4-year election cycles, but that's